I'm gonna walk you through a property that we picked up, a 4-family property that was all 1 bedrooms that we picked up for $167,000 with an estimated rehab of $75,000. And I'm gonna show you how we actually were able to put all of our money in and pull it all back out by the end of it. So we use a strategy called the BRRRR Method, which is buy, renovate, rehab, refinance, and repeat. All right. So as always, guys, I'm the Flippin' Landlord Ninja, and we are 2 guys take on real estate. So I hope you like this, and if you do, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video.
2 guys take on real estate.
So we've used this method time and time again to get us to 500 rental units, and I want to share this with you guys so that you can use the same strategy as well, even in today's market, in tomorrow's market. It doesn't matter. This is a consistent strategy that works time and time again for a lot of investors. And honestly, we wish we had bought so many more properties, and we're hoping to use this strategy again to grow to 5,000 units in the next coming years. So let me walk you through this project that we had, and we'll kind of talk about some of the stuff that we did and what we saw, some of the mistakes that we had, and let's go for it. So here is a 4-family property that we bought. Now, clearly it was all boarded up. This property had been boarded up for many years. It had been abandoned. Actually, there were squatters in this property, so we definitely had to deal with that, which was definitely something, working with the police department and the housing department to actually get out the people that were utilizing it illegally and unsafely, of course. So as you can see, everything was boarded up. There was vinyl siding. The roof, which I don't have a great picture of it, it was actually a 30-year architectural shingle. So someone had put a new roof on, which was great, but that was some of the only great part of this property. And so we got 4 porches here. So this was your main entrance right here, which would go up into, you'd have doors into the first floor here and up here as well. So it's 4 units, 1 bedroom each, with the front porches on the front, as you see here. Just another angle of that. There were just trash everywhere. We pulled off this and the door was just barely hanging. There's a lot of branches overhanging the roof, which was allowing a lot of squirrels and stuff like that to get into the property and nest. It was during winter, so when you're taking over a project during winter, especially one that has no heat, it's another cost that you really need to figure out, because you're going to often be using torpedo heaters and stuff like that, which can be unsafe. So you need to make sure it's safe for your guys. You just also have to factor in the extra fuel cost unless you can get heat on right away, which sometimes can be daunting, especially if there's a moratorium for the gas company not coming out, if you need to get gas on or stuff like that. So it's just another cost you should need to figure out. So once again, as you can see, everything was boarded up. These actually were old windows, so there's storm windows on here, and then these were wood windows. So not very efficient, not to mention in our area especially, often had lead, and we make sure all of our properties are lead compliant. So we go through a rigorous thing. We have lead inspectors come out, inspect the property, and then we make sure we make the place lead safe. So anyone can rent the place. We don't have to discriminate. If you can't discriminate, you just want to really make sure those properties are safe. And also here, you can barely see it, but there were the porches in the back for the back entranceways were falling down and everything like that. We do have a block foundation here, which was actually a solid foundation. It was in very good shape, which is another plus. So once we got into the property, as you can see, it was just distraught. This was on the first floor. This is actually sewage here. So this was a lot of sewage and trash throughout the property. This was the kitchen. It had laundry hookups. We removed all of our laundry hookups out of inside the units. These generally do not work, especially in C and D class areas, other than the fact that you're going to be having major high costs with the water, as well as there's often damages that arise from that, from not properly being used. The cabinets were completely shot. Here you go. This was one of the people that actually were squatting in the places. They had brought in mattress. We had actually got them out of time. There was also carpet, as you can see here, and it's very soiled and disgusting, using lovely towels to kind of cover the windows and hide the fact that they were illegally squatting in these units. Major trash out. I believe we had 4 30-yard trash that we pulled out of this property. It's disgusting. Massive sewage leak on the first floor. So the main stack actually had backed up into the whole first floor. It smelled horribly. And then also, once again, this woodwork here, most of this was painted on lead. So that's stuff that we had to resolve. Once again, just massive amounts of trash. As you can see, this was a big undertaking. Mattresses galore. Most of this, there was also quite a bit of lath and plaster. So often older homes, this is an older home, and they were used, instead of using sheetrock, they would actually have this lath, and then they'd put on plaster on top of that and then paint. And it's definitely not exactly ideal. It is quite a bit of work to get all that off and then make sure it's insulated behind it. Here is the bathroom on, I think this was on the first floor. As you can see, once again, more sewage. The tub was just disgusting. Broken tub surround, massive, vanities. The medicine cabinet was shot. Just everything was destroyed. The plumbing was completely shot. The heating system, which was steam, and that was also shot. This is the kitchen that somehow had a mattress in it. I mean, this stuff was just brought all over the place. It was crazy. Living room, trash. So all this was all carpeted once again. A little blurry picture, I apologize for that. So they had gotten the power turned on somehow, and they were actually illegally heating the place with these space heaters, which is very unsafe. Definitely a huge fire hazard for the neighborhood. Also, you can see this built-in little shelf here, little container. This was actually all lead. A lot of these doors were also lead, so this is stuff that had to get resolved during the renovation. And so when we're walking through and building our scope, these are things that, after doing this for years, we can kind of see that without having the lead inspector and say, all right, we know this is going to be lead. This is going to be something we're going to resolve. If there are hardwood floors underneath the carpet, we're going to want to bring that back. So we're just going through, we're making our scope of work, figuring out everything. And, here, so as you can see, here is those steam radiators we talked about. Again, this, was the bathroom, was a full gut, so new medicine, and so new vanities, new toilets, new tubs, new flooring. Pretty much bring it back down, get, update all the electrical. This is actually one of the nicer of the units. It wasn't nearly as trashed. So once again, lots of trash. Just kind of scroll through in this. This is just another one of the bathrooms. So this is actually one of the old claw tubs, which some of us who love them, I had one as a kid. They were great, and they really hold in a lot of heat, and it was a great when I was younger taking a bath. But as a landlord, often you'll see that there's a lot of water gets spilled over here and your floor gets destroyed pretty quickly, especially once again, if you have children, they might be splashing over there, and having a great time like I was as well when I was a kid. So it's something you're going to want to probably look at removing. So we like to try to put in what's called 3-piece cockless tubs. This way you don't have to have the constant maintenance of caulking every couple of years, as well as saving you from destroying your floor and just minimizing damage and lessening your maintenance costs. So thinking about durability when you're renovating these to rent out. So we often also get rid of gas lines for stoves. So we like to actually go back with electric stoves. This is, once again, lower maintenance, as well as we just, less fire hazard. You don't also have to worry as much about carbon monoxide because you don't have a carbon monoxide producing stove. So all about safety. Major trash again. So here actually was one of the first things we did is we actually went in and upgraded the electrical. We are all about making sure we do massive upgrades. So once again, as I said, I did a full scope of work on this property. We were talking about gutting all the units, upgrading all the electrical, as you can see. Now the boilers were completely shot. They were old gas steam boilers. So what you wanted to go with actually high efficient heating systems. So we went with hydronic systems in all the units. So it's a big hot water loop. Each unit did its own boiler, and it had an on-demand also hot water as well. So heat and hot water combo boilers. In our area, we're lucky. We have Massachusetts is huge for doing incentives for energy efficiency. So you should definitely check out your town and see if you or town and or state have great programs to push for energy efficiency. So we were actually able to get about $1,500 per boiler as a rebate check. So after we installed it and we showed proof that we installed it, we then were sent a check for $15 per boiler. So that right there was $6,000 that we got for installing it. So that was helped to offset some of our costs. So these are things that you should be mindful of while you're rehabbing. So once again, we went through and fully upgraded all the electrical systems. We make sure we also add an owner's panel. You can see right here, there were no owner's panels before. So this is where you're going to tie in your basement, your common area, your exterior lighting that the tenants do not have direct access to. Kevin's talked about in some of his other videos about how lighting is really important on property to maintain great tenants and save you thousands of dollars. So we always make an owner's panel that we can, and then we put out some really good exterior lighting. So as I said, we had also started rebuilding all those exterior porches. They were actually completely covered with lead paint. So we demoed all of them, rebuilt with new pressure treated. As you can see now, it's also no longer winter. So this was a long project. So make sure you also are factoring in holding costs. So if you actually have, so holding costs can be your taxes, your insurance while you're renovating a property. And if you don't know, most insurance, you're not going to have a homeowner's insurance or a renter's policy when you're actually having a vacant property. You're going to have a vacant policy, which often you can have for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. But they're obviously much higher cost than if it was occupied because it's a higher risk to the insurance company. So that's going to be a higher cost that you're going to have to factor in during your renovation. So that's part of your holding cost. And if you've borrowed hard money, that will also be a holding cost. So these are things you're going to want to factor in to all that cost. So when you do your BRRRR, you make sure you're actually able to pull out all that. So that will be also on your buy property so that you can get all your money back out. So you can see we did all these porches and make sure we had returns, which is, brought it up to proper code. Here is some of the interior pictures of the property when we were done. Here is some of the pictures. So when we actually had removed the carpet, there was actually hardwood floors. So we actually were able to sand them down and then stain them because there was a lot of stains. So we actually went over with a dark stain to kind of hide some of the different coloring and kind of made it look a little bit nicer. And then we went over with a couple coats of poly. We did hydronic heating systems right here throughout each unit. We also changed out all the windows with double pane vinyl windows. We did put back some drop ceiling tiles because we didn't want to open up too much of the ceilings here. And, then we rewired everything with new outlets and light fixtures tied to a switch. As opposed to pole chains, we try to get away from pole chains. Those are constantly breaking and stuff like that. Obviously, we need new doors. We did. So a lot of this was also lead, the baseboard. So we replaced a lot of the baseboard so that we could get the lead out and make sure these were safe. Now, one thing we did, as I had talked about before, these were actually originally 1 bedrooms. And so one value add that we saw, because there's a living room and a dining room essentially in one, we actually framed in the doorway here and added a closet. And this allowed us to actually now have this as a 2-bedroom unit. So now instead of at the time the rents were say $850, we're able to command a rent of now $950 by just adding and spending a little bit more money on adding some framing and some sheetrock and a door. And that, was a great value add that we did to each unit. So that's, an extra basically $100 per unit. So that's $400 extra per month just by adding a few doors. All right, so you can see here, this is the common hallway. So as I said, so we went into the bathroom, new toilets. We did go with VCT, which is vinyl commercial tile at the time. We actually have now kind of been stepping away from vinyl tile. We're actually going mostly back with a vinyl plank flooring in our bathrooms as the products have actually gotten a lot better. And then we did put in a 3-piece cockless tub, new shower valve, stuff like that to really improve the property and make it more durable. So that is great for our tenants. Here's our kitchen. So we put all new kitchen cabinets in. Here is the vinyl plank flooring we did here. New lighting and all of that. New exterior doors. We did have the heat here. We had to kind of put that heat there. It was the best space for the heat. And so therefore we had this little dead space, but you can the tenant can also put their trash can there. And then we like to extend the countertop all the way just so we can maximize and give them space with a GFCI outlet here so they can put their microwave. So yeah, so all the flooring throughout here. So let's talk about the numbers for this property. So like I said, we originally purchased this property for $167,000. I estimated our rehab to be about $75,000. Well, I was a little off.
Psych! That's the wrong number!
The main stack cost a little bit more that we had to actually was fully cracked. Some things I couldn't see when we actually started opening up the walls. So we did spend actually $85,000, so an extra $10,000. Then we had around $5,000 in closing costs and an extra $10,000 in actual holding costs that we had, since we had to hold it through the winter. So there was a little bit more extra cost than I thought. Great news is the property actually appraised when it was all done and we had some of the units rented. It appraised for $353,000. And we were able to talk to one of our local banks that we had already worked with many times. And we were able to get a 20-year commercial loan at 4.5%. And they gave us 80% LTV for loan to value. And so that allowed us to actually pull out and get a loan for $282,000, which basically put in about $15,000 into our pockets after paying us back for all of our costs. So essentially, we have no money now tied into the property. We're fully leveraged on the property, and we have put $15,000 into our account that we would then use for any other repairs in the future. So kind of giving us a nice buffer. And then we also were able to rent, as I had said, each 2-bedroom now, because they were 1-bedrooms, now they're 2-bedrooms, for $950 a month. Then there was about $1,000 in costs. That would be your taxes, your insurance, and general costs like that. And then we also figure in vacancy costs of generally about 5 to 7%, and then also another about 5 to 7% for general maintenance and cap improvements. And we're generally profiting now, looking at those numbers, about $250 per unit per month. So honestly, all in all, it was a great BRRRR, and this is something you guys can do as well. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was educational. If you like type videos like this, let me know by leaving a comment below. And also, if you want to learn more about hard money lending and stuff like that, check out this video. And I hope you guys come back and have a great day. Thanks a lot.